to Advanced and Performance Driving. I'm Reg Local. In the last video I introduced you to the new car, the M2 Competition, so I've come out for a bit of a drive in it today. There was one element though that I was finding really difficult to define in that video, and it was to do with the steering response of this car and the way that it just feels eager to turn into corners and to fire you off out of corners, most particularly the steering feel. And then I got a message through YouTube, thanks to Max Torque, who I know we've corresponded before, and he made reference to the E Differential, the E Diff in the back of the M2 Competition, and that it was the differential that was making the difference to steering feel. And I just had a moment of inspiration. Of course it was the differential. That's the biggest difference between this and the M135i and some of the other cars that I've driven. But the way that it works in this car in particular seems, it just seems to work really nicely with the chassis and the suspension settings and where the engine and gearbox are linked together. So I started to do a little bit of research, and as we all do, and I'm sure you did before you watched this video, I thought we'll have a look on YouTube, we'll see what we can find on YouTube. And if you go on YouTube generally and start looking for you know, BMW M2 Competition, M3, M4, E Differential, really most of the stuff that's out there is to do with drifting, it's to do with sliding the back end of the car about. If you go on Google and you start looking around for what are the benefits of the E Differential, you'll read loads and loads of stuff about how it makes it easier to slide the car around and drift and get the back end loose, which on the one hand it does, that's all correct, but on the other hand it's almost irrelevant to this kind of driving, the kind of driving that we do 99.9% of the time. It's a bit of a cold February morning, I'm up in the Yorkshire Dales. Believe me, I am not going to be drifting this car around. So I wanted to do a video, that's what this video is about. It's about the real world benefits of this lock-in differential, this variable lock-in differential that BMW call the E Diff. And I've spent a bit of time in the car, a bit of time researching how it works and what it does. And I think I've got it now, so you have to bear with me. It's probably a bit more of a technical video than I usually post this, and in the next video we'll go back to good old school advanced instruction and you know, all the stuff that you're used to. But this is quite, to me this is interesting, you might find it interesting. Let's see how we get on. So the E Differential is a variably locking differential, and the way that differentials lock in a variable way is they have a clutch pack in them. So a limited slip differential has a clutch pack of a sort of metal discs, some clutch plates, metal disc clutch plates, which lock and unlock depending on what you're doing with the car. And in this car, that clutch is controlled with an electric motor that's attached to the side of the differential. I'll put a link below to a video that an American chap has put on. He's not the most dynamic presenter, to be fair to him. It might send you to sleep, but just fast forward through until you see the cutout of the differential, and that cutout shows you the differential working. It shows you the electric motor opening and closing the clutch plates within the diff, and this was the light bulb moment for me. This was the thing that made me realise what the car was doing. And then he goes on to talk about the number of sensors and the number of inputs that the car has, the number of sort of parameters that the car is constantly measuring in relation to what the differential is doing. And that was the point at which I realised why the car feels like it does when you're going through corners. Let's think about the purpose of a differential to start with, and the clue's in the name. When a car's going around a corner, say we're going around a right-hand corner, you think about it logically, the car's on the wheels on the left-hand side of the car are going further than the wheels on the right-hand side of the car because of the nature of the corner. So because they're going further, they're going a little bit faster. So if you just send drive to the driven wheels, whether that be front wheel drive or rear wheel drive, if you just send drive to the wheels and distribute it equally across the axle, then you're going to get one of the wheels or both of the wheels sort of skipping on the road surface, and you're going to be losing traction with one of those wheels because they're travelling at the same speed. And the differential, like I said, the clue's in the name with the differential. It takes into account the difference, the differential between the speeds of the wheels on either side of the car. So that's the purpose of a differential. And generally in most ordinary road cars, you don't need anything more than what's called a fully open diff. The M135 had a fully open differential, and that meant that the speed between the wheels on either side of the car would vary almost indefinitely, really. There were some issues with that. It meant that if you were unloaded in a corner, if you unloaded the inside wheel in a corner and you lost a little bit of grip on that wheel because the car was unloaded, then that would spin away. It would spin away some of the power. In a car with a lock-in differential, it's different. It transmits the power almost up to the point where it's equally transmitting the power to both wheels. But it's in the BMW M2 Competition, the M3, the M4, this variable E differential means that it can do it variably. Again, the clue's in the name. So the first thing this car does when you turn into a corner is it allows you to turn into the corner with a fully open differential. Think about this: if the rear wheels in this car are locked together and travelling at the same speed, you turn the wheel, the car will want to understeer, it'll want to push on, because those rear wheels locked together travelling at the same speed will push the car on into the corner. So we don't want that, we want good steering response. So what the car does initially when you turn into the corner, that first initial turn into the corner, is it leaves the differential open, and that gives you a nice initial steering response. It really gives the car a nice darty front end, and you turn into the corner very nicely. Then it starts to do a lot of really clever things with electronics, with the sensors. It's measuring steering wheel angle, it's measuring throttle position, it's measuring the car's speed, it's measuring yaw, which is the position and the direction the car's going in. Guy waving at me there. I'm sure the speed camera's a little bit further up here in his usual spot near the railway bridge. We'll look out for him. Not that we'd be speeding here anyway. So first initial turn into the corner, the car has the differential open and it gives you a nice darty sharp steering turn into the corner, nice and sharp. Even at these speeds, nice and sharp, turn into the corner there at 20 miles an hour, the car responds really nicely. So once you've put your steering lock on and you stop and you hold the car in the corner, the car recognises that and it starts to lock the differential up. Now I haven't looked at the science behind it, the engineering behind it. I don't quite know. There's the speed camera, there we go. I don't quite know how much it's locking up, but let's say 30%, let's say 30 to 35%. And at that point, the car just starts to come alive underneath you. You can feel something slightly different happening at the rear axle. Then as you get into the corner and you start to increase the throttle position and you start to increase the pressure on the throttle pedal, then that diff starts to lock up even more, let's say 65, 70%, something like that. And then when you start to take the lock off and you start turning out of the corner and the car starts straightening up, that's when the diff pretty much fully locks up. And the feeling you get then is that the car just is catapulting you out of the corner in a straight line. It's a very nice feeling. It feels really good. And it's a very direct feeling that you are steering the rear of the car with the throttle pedal. So I've talked about this before, I want to settle the rear of the car, transfer weight backwards, but there's an immediate benefit in getting on that gas. So coming up to this left-hander now, if I'm off the gas and I turn the wheel and just press the gas slightly and then press the gas, that's where the diff kicks in and pushes you out of the corner. Turn in, diff is open, press the gas, diff locks up. Turn in, diff is on, press the gas, diff locks up. And it feels fantastic. It's a really, it's almost as though, and this will, you know, to those of you who are engineers, and if Max is watching this, it almost feels as if the wheelbase of the car is variable, like the car's getting longer and shorter. so that when you turn into the corner, the car feels really short in wheelbase and darty. But as you drive through the corner and get on the gas, it's like the wheelbase extends, the car settles, and it pushes you out of the corner, forces you down the road. It's a really satisfying feeling, and this is the bit that I found really difficult to quantify when we did the last video. All I could say at that point was, they've done something with this car and it feels really good. So having given it some thought now, that's where I've settled on it. So all this stuff that you see online, on YouTube, on on road test reports, Chris Harris sliding the car around gracefully around a race circuit somewhere, all this stuff about drifting the car, yes, undoubtedly it's true. You drift this car quite easily, no problem at all. With that locking diff, it'll work with you, it'll allow you to get the back end of the car loose. But that's not how we're driving on the road. It's not what we're looking to achieve. And the way that the software has been calibrated, the inputs from the sensors on this car, the way that differential works, has real world benefits. It just feels so planted and so secure, and it feels like the car is working with you all the time. Now don't get me wrong, you've got to drive this car and you've got to drive it correctly. So if you throw the car into a corner on the brakes, you will still get a level of instability that we're not looking for. We want to get the car settled at the start of the corner under some neutral throttle and then increase the gas all the way through the corner. That's where you'll get the beauty of this differential working with you. So let's go and find a few faster corners and let's have a proper drive of this car and get a feel for that differential. Right, so let's keep up with this little Kia now, start looking for the opportunity to overtake so we can start moving this car along through some of the corners along this section of road now. Here's a nice opportunity after this Volvo, down to third, I'm going to check the mirrors, I'm going to move offside, accelerate past. So you lose a view halfway into that one, but I had the confidence there because we'd already had the long view in the distance. So looking up ahead now, I can see the road bending round to the right, and I can see it's clear for me to go offside into this one. I'm going to go down one gear to fourth, turn in, and then press the gas, and I can now feel the back end working with me through these corners. So through this one here, just squeezing the gas very gently, keeping a little bit of positive pressure on the gas pedal, and that differential is locking itself up and it's just working with me. So even when you're not massively pressing on, if you're just going along at 5 or 6 tenths of yours and your car's capability, you can feel that differential really working with you. Down to third, I'm going to keep it near side, squeeze the gas, and it gives you a real level of accuracy through the corner. I'm going to keep third gear now, off the gas towards the centre line. As we turn into this corner, thank you for being on the offside there, BMW. Bloody BMW drivers. So on the approach to this next left-hander now, a little bit of brakes. I'm going to go down one gear, and just a little bit of gas just to keep it balanced there. I've got a view all the way through down to the right now. So I'm going to position near side into this right-hander. When I come off the brakes, take third gear. There's a bit of mud on the road, which could make things interesting. So I'm varying the amount of gas that I'm giving the car. That mud turns off to the left there. Bit of gas through that left-hander there, and again the car just absolutely points exactly where you want it to be. I'm not going to go offside here because of the oncoming car, so just drive it round in fourth, but back on the gas as we turn the wheel, back on the gas, brings that rear end into play. Down to third, a little bit of gas there, a little bit more. You can really feel the car straighten itself up out of that left-hander then. Looking through this right-hander now, and a view through the side windows, nothing coming, down one gear, offside early, and on the gas. And again, I can feel that rear end really helping us through that corner. I probably sound like the world's biggest anorak here, raving about the rear differential in a car where, you know, there's so many other really nice attributes to this car, the engine, the power, the gearbox, all that kind of stuff. But it was this little mystery element. It's like a light bulb's gone on in my head, and I've realised what it is. It's like the final piece of the jigsaw that makes this car whole, that makes this car just feel all together, really. So anyway, that's my video about BMW's E Diff in the M2 competition. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you haven't found it too geeky or nerdy, but this sort of stuff really fascinates me as a driver. And it's really nice to sort of get an understanding of the benefit and the real world benefits of this E differential. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, press the notifications button, you'll get an email every time I put a new video online. And I have got some plans for quite a lot of stuff over the next few months. The next video, I'm going to do it today actually, the next video will be about limit point assessment and how you work out the sort of correct speed to approach and drive through a corner. Don't forget to go and have a look at the website, reglocal.com. Loads more information there about advanced and performance driving, and some info there about how you can come and have a day's coaching with me. Go and have a drive out in your car with a little bit of instruction from me. If you want to do that, drop me a line and we'll sort something out. But for now, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.